Welcome everyone. Well, time for some DVD Blu Ray updates. This time we have just regular Blu-rays that features movies, and yeah, let's see how it goes. Today, I'm going to movie reviews. Welcome back. Alrighty, so I guess we could start out basically with the Blu-rays. Eventually, I did pretty much obviously got myself around pretty well good basic titles, and that's right next beside me. And of course, well, let's just basically take a look at it. So the first off, we basically have none of the base of the movie that people really have mixed this hate or dislike or whatever you guys like to call it. But I find this movie really enjoyment, and like I say, there's nothing more to it. I do love really because of how they make it a little bit different and a little bit more basically a lot more gritty and a lot more joyful experience than you see in the actual television show. I am of course talking about Power Rangers. I don't know if you probably can't see the actual, but yeah, sorry about my lighting. Let's see if I can probably light it a little bit better. Here, like that. Maybe I'll probably do it. Yeah, there we go. So, of course, this is, of course, the 2006, or 2017 Power Rangers movie. Basically, I find this movie very more joyful than originally you look at the 1996 or 97 Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie. But this one's a little bit more, basically, a lot more better, as my opinion. And because of that, as much as it's a lot more darker tone, and it doesn't have like your typical, basic, like the Mighty Morphin did in basic course in the television series. So basically that being said, even though the television series does have some dark humor to it, this one's a little bit more basically kind of go to that route, but without Angel Grove being as a happy-go-lucky basic kind of like town. It's very well kind of greedy, very well kind of like just a average town. You basically look at basic course. Oh, there's a little. But yeah, it actually is an average basic town, and I don't know, I found it very well enjoyment based of how Angel Grove is a little bit more down to earth than you look at basically the television device show. Because if you look at the television device show, it's more really the kind of like the happy-going, like being all, oh, let's all be a team together, guys, you know, all that sort of stuff. But this one's a little bit more, because in here the Rangers are much more have very well attitude. They're a little bit more screw-ups than your typical basically in the television series. They're very well outcasts and very well geeks and freaks. So it's gonna have that very tone of its stylized, and it's very well, very down to earth. I mean, in the beginning, we don't get to basically meet the Rangers. We get to meet Zordon, who I have to say never thought of basically as a fan of the series. Of the television, but I am fan of the movie generally based on. But you know, with basically having Zordon being the only Red Ranger, being the leader and lost his basic team, he does go around to basically cover up his power coins from Rita. I will say this: Elizabeth Banks playing Rita is definitely a nice way for an actress who I very well know her from basically Spider-Man movies, from some of the other basic movies she's been in, but seeing her basically in Power Rangers and play as somewhat as the Green Ranger Rita, it's very kind of fascinating, very interesting, and she just really is having a fun time of life. The only downside that I really found this movie very well done for is they always use the Krispy Kreme to hide the Zero Crystal that, of course, in the show, basically, the Zero Crystal is actually the new power-up from Power Rangers Zero. Here, it's actually quite a little bit more different than basic course than in Zero Compromise. So, bear in mind, it's actually quite a little bit more odd to see. But to be fair, it's actually still based on the same tone. So yeah, but I will say this: the actors who play the characters are, well, just basically unknowing basic actors that I barely cannot really tell you how difficult originally you could find actors who could play these characters, but they're very well down to earth. They're very well interesting. I will say this: I heard based on a lot of rumors that the Yellow Ranger is supposed to be a lesbian, so that's a little bit kind of a bonus which is there. And to be fair, it actually makes kind of obvious sense, because why would basically the Yellow Ranger would be a guy or a female, which is basically in that suit. And like I said before, the actual suits that they're wearing here, they're a little bit more better than you look at basically the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger suits. And the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger suits in the movies are very well similar like this one, but they're a little bit more comic feeling based on the television device. But the television show is quite different than basically the 1996 flick. But here in this one, it's a lot more kind of more like armor plating to it. It's really trying to make it a little bit of the Iron Man-ish kind of very suit that people kind of remember mentioned that. So really not much I can say about it, but really a decent good movie. It did came with basic course with the actual comic book. Well, should I say the actual comic storyline based on the continuation of the film. So you can tell the difference. It's a little bit more different. The thing I found very kind of interesting, and maybe because this is probably just, there was a mention, of course, they actually was going to put Tommy in basically in the beginning of the film, but they wanted to save the version for, I guess, for the sequel. So we might probably get a sequel, hopefully. But I found the very different version basically between the actual basic show. Because the actual show, maybe I could give you this, is that they actually use the Rangers that reveal their faces originally into their helmets. So if you notice into the comic, it's very well kind of toned though. So it really kind of reminds me from other basic Power Ranger shows which are before then. And really, it's really obviously a very joyful movie. So of course we have the Steelbook. You can still find the Steelbook version based in Target though. I actually saw this version for pretty cheap for 19. So that's the Steelbook. Don't have the actual, of course, inserts, but it does come with all featurettes like the behind the scenes, all the basic making of the film and everything else. And then on the back we have a nice, good. I don't know if you can see the base of the imagery. But yeah, that's of course the back cover of the main colors of the Rangers, of their colors, with the lightning bolt and says it's Morphin Time on the top. So I don't know if you can probably see it. I'm sorry about my video quality. It's a little bit hold on a second. Let's see if I can give it a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so like I say, it's a little kind of hard to see though, but you will say it actually says it's Morphin Time. And inside we do have both the Blu Ray and the DVD, so there's a case. And then on the inside the base of the cover of the Steelbook, we have, of course, the frontal base of the Rangers and their Megazords. Now, I will say this: while the movie has some flaws, the only thing I really do not like, and this is my nitpicking, is the actual Megazord itself. Now, of course, the Zords, they're pretty obviously a lot more explanatory, but they're a little bit more obviously, kind of very minor nitpicking of everything. But to be fair, it's actually kind of fine. I mean, I don't see any problems with this movie. The only thing is just basically there are minor nitpicks, like of course the Krispy Kreme, they keep repeating over about maybe 6 or probably 7 times. And we could discuss about where is the zero, of course, is hidden, and really not much I can say about it. But really decent, good movie. Really will highly recommend watching it. I was very surprised originally when they were doing another Power Rangers movie. I'm thinking, oh, they would do another Power Rangers movie because it's basically for the TV show series. While the TV shows is running for like 20 or 21 years now, going down the line. They're going to their, I think, the 26th season. I haven't really kept up with watching Power Rangers, so don't ask me basically why. But I try to keep at it, but don't ask me. So yeah, but basically, all in all, I find the movie enjoyable, and yeah, no more I can say about it. Definitely recommend it. Okay, next up we have, of course, another basically, well, this is from DC, or as of the well, this is from DC Comics, and I was happy indeed, and very obviously they actually put this out though. But with the tragic and very well passing of the loss of a great actor, Adam West, who is no longer with us, but he will basically remain as the only Batman in basically, of course, through to age, to basically young age, to fans, to all the way around the world know him as Batman. So of course, I really want to idolize him, and I actually did venture out one to basically pick up the live action series that's available on Blu-ray. I will would probably hope to do a review or basically turn into some kind of like a very mini review of it, but bear in mind, it's very obviously it will take a long time. But of course, I picked up, of course, his anime with basically Bird World, The Return of the Cape Crusaders. Now, of course, the difference between that is that they have the two main three basic course surviving basic course casting members. You have Anna West, Burt Ward, and of course, what's her name was Julie Newmar, who played the first Catwoman. So of course, she's basically here too, and basically in this lovely basically animation flick. And to be fair, I will say this: rewatching the actual basic course live action series, and it's still the same basic tone, but here's the difference between basically the live action one. The live action one takes it basically in the daytime. Sometimes it would take it basically in the nighttime though, and very well obviously they're trying to do that. But to here, it really takes into the nighttime. So they take the animation pretty obviously in well basically of how they want to make the actual basic course the stylized version of the 60s, but keep it very well, very cartoony, very well anime-like kind of really feel, but still have the main three surviving actors who are still basically, continue basically. I know Burt Ward, he's still living, Julie Newmar is still living, but of course Adam West, from his tragic loss and from his basic course. I did not know he actually had, basic course brain surgery or heart surgery, that matter, but he has survived for pretty well long good years, so definitely he will be missed. He will be missed for a lot of the reasons, because he was the only Batman who did the basic course, the performance in the 60s, and through past those on, and yeah, I mean, it's very sad, originally, that he's no longer basically going to look at his basic proper work. Otherwise, he did really understand, how popularity his portray as Batman goes, and he's been doing a lot of guest appearances, a lot of basic course events. I mean, the man is just a really a highly basically hardworking gentleman, and I don't think he would ever basically be more happy that basically he did the part and really be satisfied really of what he did. And yeah, I mean, just really just a joy for basic experience. But yeah, really, I found the animation pretty well good. It still basically has that bam, slap, and bam, basically sound effects and basically what the pop, but it's very well anime, and I wish they could continue doing more like this though. There was, of course, they actually did that though in the New Adventures of Batman. It's a 70 basic course cartoon that really is stylized this, but it's more really keep it very well. How can I say this for the word? More basically 60s era kind of feel. So you can tell that the Burt Ward and Adam West did eventually obviously have themselves really, because they basically play their performance, and people really know their voices. So bear in mind, I knew their voices pretty easily when I heard about it, and it was actually quite interesting to really hear them again in this visual form here. So bear in mind, it actually really is great. For basic turn for special features, we only have two featurettes. We have the dominant business rehearsal of the Trilogy feature, which is of course basically how they stylized the basic of this basically movie. And then of course you have the classic basic voices. That's basically Adam West and Burt Ward, and basically of course Julie Newmar, basically voice. And that's pretty much it though, because there's really not highly much as I can say about this. All in all, it is a joyful basic course. Well recommend animated movie, and really keep that sterilized. So of course we have the front cover and Batman and Robin, and glorious basic action. And on the back we have of course the main four basic villains. Like I said before, it is kind of take base of a little bit of the Batman movie stylized, but it's more really kind of keep it very well cartoonish and very classic really to it. And then if you open up the case, there's really not much we can say about the case, but we have just Batman running towards the in both the DVD and Blu-ray. And there's really nothing on the back of the DVD casing. So yeah, Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders. Definitely to get it. Definitely check it out. Then of course I actually was never probably they would never do. I was hoping they would probably will do it sometime with all the movies are basically of course all intact. But I love this movie. I mean, I watched all 3 movies when we came out on DVD, and really, I'm happy indeed it's finally out on Blu-ray. So I picked up none other than Rush Hour, the trilogy. Yeah, of course it is the typical basic course cover with the slap insert version though. On the basis you have the entire featurettes. This does contain all 3 Rush Hour movies, along with basically the bonus features. But this is a nice, really good cover, though. I mean, the box itself is really nice. I mean, you've got Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker in the front, and you have really nice, really contributed artwork. I mean, this is a beauty-based artwork, though. Really nice and just unbelievably gorgeous looking. I mean, just look at the back. I mean, that's a really heavy duty artwork. And then of course if we open up the casing, it does come with the actual basic same thing as from the box. If you notice, the box is a little bit kind of a little squishy though, but that's kind of fine. And then of course we have the front cover once again with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. And you know, I always kind of find Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker be as a dynamic duo versus based in these movies. So of course, let me fix this up first. Hold on 1 second. Just give me a second. There we go. Alright. So of course we have the first movie. We have the second, third movie. And then based on the other side we have a ton of basic content basically of this set. Now I haven't gotten around to watching the contents or anything. I know of course the movie itself is basically high def. And put the cover. I know, of course, these movies are actually in high def. I know, of course, the first 2 films are actually on Blu-ray in separate, basically, of course, packaging. But I really want the actual course casing because I really do want to get this nice, rich, of course, typical cover. I basically put that there today. Well, you guys basically see. I was really just trying to get used to it. But yeah, really enjoyed the title of this movie. I might probably do a review of it, maybe, if sometime being. But really not I could really say about it. Just really glad that you got this in collection. The reason why I don't own Rush Hour movies is because I was kind of skeptical they might be available on Blu-ray, and lo and behold, they did. So definitely awesome to get this on set. Then of course I got another Steelbook. Now of course, and then people didn't really know that this movie was terrible. I found this movie very joyful. That of course Space Jam. Nothing more I can say about it. Just an awesome, decent, good. Consider basically a cover of the Steelbook. You know, I'm very surprised. You know, I'm collecting Steelbooks usually. I don't usually basically buy Steelbooks because they usually will come in a ridiculous price, or they usually were out of stock. But you know, you never know. You know, when you get what you get, and pretty much obviously didn't really mind to get it. I mean, if you look at the cover, it looks nice though. And on the back, you have the inserts. If you just take out the inserts off, you have the entire base of Looney Tunes cast. You have Tweety Bird, Grandma, Bugs Bunny, Sylvester, Tasmanian, and of course Daffy Duck, who I adore and love in many ways. But I always have a very fun with Bugs Bunny. But all Looney Tunes and stuff usually are pretty awesome. So of course this is a Blu-ray and DVD. So you have of course the DVD and Blu-ray onto the base of the actual set. Then of course if we take the casings of the DVDs, or should I say discs, whatever you like to call it. Then we have Michael Jordan in his proper form holding the shake of the water shake, whatever you call it, that the Looney Tunes were trying to get their secret stuff to basically give confidence. But I don't know, I found the basic suspension movie a lot more enjoyable as I remember. It was one of those basic kind of like 90s flicks that in the 90s was trying to be more very well hard on based on how it basically that Looney Tunes was supposed to be more but you have of course athletes who are doing of course sports movies but that's just part of what the 90s were. I mean, like, they wasn't really much spectacular, but they were really entertaining for me to watch. But the only movie I will say that I did not really enjoy, and maybe probably I would agree, obviously, this surprised me to really watch it again, was Shazam, played by Shaft, who I found that movie pretty obviously hard to basically believe you would do a movie, but, you know, what you get, you pay what you get, you know. And Michael Jordan, I don't know, I just find him, his performance, playing as the coach basically of the Toon Squad basically team, I think it's gonna fine. You know, I don't have a problem with it. So yeah, definitely highly recommend it. Then of course I really didn't want to basically pick up this movie because I know a lot of people really think that the anime is a lot more better. I really don't bash this about how general movies are usually made from basic live action. I mean, especially for anime. But the anime, I don't know. I just find it very joyful. But the live action, I don't know. It's just it's very slimmer, but it's quite different. It's supposed to be a little bit different, but it's not supposed to be, you know, have the same material that we should look at. I mean, yes, it does have the same material and everything, but it's quite different, Richard, though. And people get a lot basically of whitewashing and all that stuff, and I just really just don't get that, Richard, though. But I really want to pick it up because I really want to see it, and watching it only once, I found it very entertaining, you know, very well interesting, but, you know, it's nothing really too special. It's the same format, Richard, that you see in the anime. So that, of course, none other than Ghost in the Shell, starring none other than Scarlett Johansson. Now, people say that Scarlett Johansson was really unbelievable playing Major in this movie. People always consider she wants to basically do a solo, basically, Marvel movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which, honestly, I will say, it's pretty tough on her, but originally, because she hasn't done much movies later on. When she has done, of course, this movie, then she done, of course, I think it was Late Night, or originally wherever that movie is, the kind of like the female-based kind of casting makes a film. And then she's been pretty obviously done a lot more than just basically, of course, being in the Marvel Cinematic movies. She's been, of course, well, I guess you could say from her speech doing that, of course, that Obama administration basically about women's rights, it was quite hilarious. But I respect her as an actress and as a human being, knowing that she does have a daughter, she does have her own ways of basically speaking for her own opinion. It's just kind of hilarious to see her basically just, you know, speak up to the women who have no basic legal rights to be a celebrity, but they do have their own rights to be as women and basically be as proud. But to be fair, I don't know, I just haven't seen her lately done basically, of course, this movie, and along with basically the other movies she had done. I know she's going to definitely be back in basically, of course, the Infinity War, the final and basically the only Marvel movie that's going to be a huge claim fan for all these Marvel characters and bases in the cinematic universe of Marvel. And yeah, I don't know, it's just I really find this movie kind of enjoyable. I think it's kind of fine as long as basically, you know, Scarlett Johansson looks good basically in character. I think it's going to be okay. But to be fair, people really kind of whitewashed it based off her performance. I don't see the point of that. I mean, let's face it, we've seen a ton of live action of anime movies. Well, maybe not a ton of it, but we have seen some of it that are pretty much are going to be released, and they're going to have a lot more basic. I mean, look at basic course. What's that movie? Dragon Ball. Wherever that movie is. That was the terrible way to basically not doing a live action anime movie or any kind of sort of base of anime culture. Or basic Japanese animation culture, should I say. But to be fair, this one's kind of really interesting, and I found it very entertaining. It is very well kind of trippy though, because in the anime, it's a little bit more trippy. It's a little bit kind of more not my taste, but I respect it for what it is and how it's basically the animation is. But this one's a little bit more trippy though. It's a little bit kind of same material, but it just kind of goes off in one direction to another direction to another direction, and yeah, I mean, it just kind of makes me feel obviously this movie does have some flaws, but to be fair, it's all right. You know, I'm not gonna basically say it's terrible. So of course we have the slipcover and stuff. I'm sorry about my lighting; it's pretty obviously not easy to get the first light. So we have the basic course. So we'll go basic slipcover, and on the back, it's very shiny though, very nice and glossy and shiny though. and Bumpy. And basically we have the entire featurettes. So Trilogy featurettes, we have A Hard Awakening of Humanity, the making of the Ghost of the Shell, Century 9 of the Central Base of Defeats, Man and Machine, the Ghost of Philosophy. Then basically, of course, we have this basically the featurette, basically film, both on the Blu-ray and of course on DVD. So there you go. Then if we basically open the slipcover, we have of course the actual basic case itself. Same thing on the back. Then we have, I'm not going to show you the program code because I know of course you guys like to your digital copies and everything. Yeah, nothing too fancy. Like I say, it is of course a Paramount Pictures movie production. So it's the plain out basically. Of course, you have the basically of course the DVD onto the gray disc, and then you have the Blu-ray onto the blue disc. So, but yeah, nothing really I can say about this movie. I will say this: while it may seems like it's very obviously the same tone base of the anime, it's still an enjoyable movie. So definitely recommend. Then of course, speaking of base of Cinematic Universe, I did got myself caught up basically of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I only have half of Phase 1 and half Phase 2. So I'm trying to basically get myself back to that. I have watched all the Marvel movies. I just don't have most of them in my collection. But I will have them basically in some way, and probably will somewhat do like kind of like a phase review kind of it for you guys. But I do have the Steelbook of Captain America: Civil War. Now I don't have the intro basic inserts, but it does come with all the featurettes and everything. And on the back, well, of course, at the front, you have this beautiful basic course, the typical Steelbook raised bumper with the Cap shield and Iron Man's mask. And on the back, we have Iron Man and Cap facing another one. Now, this is a beautiful, beautiful basic shot here of the basic course and intro of the comics. And then, of course, inside, we just have just the Blu-ray 3D and the regular Blu-ray. So this is of course the 3D Blu-ray. Let's turn this way. Yeah, so that's the 3D Blu-ray and the regular Blu-ray. And then of course if we open the casing, alright, we have the entire base of the characters. We have Black Widow, I think there is of course Hawkeye, Black Panther, Ant-Man, Wanda, aka basic Scarlet Witch, Vision, and of course with Iron Man and Cap and basic Bucky and basic Falcon. You probably mentioned, where's Spider-Man based on this basic course? Well, I find it very interesting because I might probably hope to do a review of the Spider-Man Homecoming movie. I find it very interesting because when they announced which of course Spidey is going to be in Civil War, I was kind of thinking, okay, how would they would do that? For starters, they have to really either basically introduce him already because, well, the Cinematic Universe movies are so obviously getting high basic hype for fans and for audience. And when I actually watching the second trailer, I was, excuse me, my neck is kind of really thin. When I was watching the second trailer, I was very relieved that Spidey is going to be in Civil War, but not just Civil War, but also in the Cinematic Universe. In basically Marvel, and basically he's coming home. He's actually very happy indeed to be back in Marvel, basically. But there are going to be a couple bit of tricks about that. I might say that Richard until when I do a review of the Spider-Man Homecoming movie. But there are going to be 3 basic Spider-Man movies. One we already have is Homecoming. The other 2 are going to be maybe junior year or sophomore year or maybe somewhere like that. And I know the third movie is going to be the base of final base, and then because the actor who plays Spidey and Peter, Tom Holland, I think he's far more better than Toby and Andrew. Now, well, I'll discuss about Richard Hope about that, but he's far more good enough for playing both roles. And honestly, seeing him in basic course in the airport scene when he's in his Spidey suit, it's so hilarious. I find myself laughing at him so much often than seeing Cap and Bucky trying to hug the differences and everything out, which is why they basically, of course, cannot really make agreement basically with Tony basically knowing that Bucky killed basically Tony's parents. But I find it very enjoyable because honestly, to be fair, I was kind of like, who this actor is? I was kind of like, he'd done a couple basic movie roles, so. But seeing him basically in this movie, and then seeing him basically, of course, his own movie, Homecoming, which we're eventually going to get into in November, it was quite really entertaining. I mean, I'm not going to basically argue basically everything else. I mean, let's face it. I mean, we haven't seen Spidey basically be funny or witted or basically quite enjoyment. I mean, yes, of course, Toby, he did develop the character, but he lacked the base of being Spidey. Andrew Garfield, on the other hand, he did well with Spidey, but his hipster, basically Peter Parker, didn't cut it for me though. But for Tom Holland, I highly think he's far more good enough and a little bit more better than basically both the two main actors that we saw basically before and basically the previous Spider-Man movies. So yeah, basically definitely was an awesome movie. I can't say nothing more about it. Just brilliant is what it is. There are basic flaws in this movie, but it's still brilliant. So yeah, definitely recommend it. Then finally, did not expect that they would put this out. So I knew a moment when I heard about it, they were going to put the Blu Ray of this movie. I had to get it. I really wanted my collection. And I haven't been seeing the movie since likely when I was probably like maybe 5 or 6 years old. That's of course none other than Batman! The Mask of Phantasm. Finally on Blu Ray. Now you're probably thinking, well, basically Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero will get a Blu Ray release. I'm hoping it will be. But honestly, to be fair, I've seen this movie multiple times when on VHS. I never owned it on DVD though, which by all means, but I really do want to own it basically the movie. But when I heard that they put this on Blu-ray, I'm really score, not even honest about this buy here. So what the quality looks, well, it's a little bit grainy, just a tiny little bit. I mean, you can see a little bit of the animation of the pixel-like basically imageries. Because they're a little bit more fuzzy, just a bit. Because when you put basically movies or any kind of anime movies that matter onto a Blu-ray disc, you kind of have to make sure you do all your cleaning and all that basically stuff for basically of all your filming. But to be fair, I found the quality pretty good. I mean, still it's a joyful movie. Can't more I can say about it. I don't know if many people don't ever seen it. Definitely need to check it out. But seeing it on Blu-ray, I was kind of over skeptical knowing that how they would put this very well, I want to say 50, probably like an hour, based and a half movie on Blu-ray. And honestly, to be fair, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I'm glad originally they finally put out this movie on Blu-ray, and I highly recommend you get this one because not only makes you not to get the basic course on Blu-ray, but you also still get basically both the theatrical and the extended edition of this movie. I did not notice that until basically I was basically watching the film, until I heard that you can watch the extended edition. Well, yes. Yeah, I was finding this basically movie very enjoyable, and didn't have no problem with the basis of the quality. The only thing it's a little bit more grainy just a bit, but to be fair, it's a joyful basic movie to see this finally put on Blu-ray. I had no basic beats or bugs about it. Just happy basically on it based on Blu-ray. So of course we got the front cover, like always, like on the DVD and on the VHS, especially of course, casings. Then of course the back, nothing really on features. I mean, you don't get that much on featurettes, but you do get of course basically the actual basically trailer, which is kind of fine for what it is. And then we open it up, nothing too fancy, just Batman posing in the background, probably on his cave. So that's pretty much it. Yep. Batman, the Mask of Phantasm. Definitely pick it up. So that is it for basically all my Blu-ray movies. I still got a couple more Blu-rays, but I'll do that maybe some other time. So until then, this is Eric Brown. Thank you for watching, and sayonara.